Recorded Books presents Valiant by Jack Campbell, narrated by Christian Rummel.
This is John G. Hemry, who writes the Lost Fleet series under the pen name Jack Campbell. One of the enduring themes in my writing is that the people who explore, sail through, and fight among the stars will be sailors. That may seem odd since the sky shades into space, but in fact travel beyond Earth orbit will have a lot in common with the sorts of things sailors have done for thousands of years. The task of sailors has always been to travel across a hostile medium, the ocean or the sea, on voyages which last weeks, months, and even years. Ships and sailors are tailored for that kind of ordeal, with the ability to operate completely on their own for long periods of time. Having faced storms at sea myself, I've been stunned to go aboard full-sized reproductions of old ships like Sir Francis Drake's Golden Hind, which sailed around the world. Such ships were amazingly tiny, with living conditions no prison convict today would be expected to endure. Yet sailors brought them safely through storms and lived on board for many months, operating totally independently. The first humans to reach for other planets and other stars will face the same conditions and challenges. One way in which space differs from the ocean is that the ocean has moods, and its moods can change with deadly suddenness. There are times when the ocean is actively trying to kill you, hurling wind and wave of such power that human creations seem tiny against them. Space is different. It'll lie in wait, cold and silent, waiting for those crossing it to make a mistake. If the mistake is serious enough, or if the people who made the mistake don't react right, or if they lack the means to fix the problem, then space will be waiting for them, without any mercy, utterly cold and empty. But sailors are used to dealing with implacable foes. Fog, reefs, and storms all carry their own perils, sometimes hidden until they strike. And sailors are used to telling stories about their voyages. I think of one of the oldest works known, the Odyssey by Homer, as also being the oldest sea story. Sea stories are the tales sailors tell about the places and people they've encountered, usually with the firm declaration that this really happened. I imagine Odysseus finally getting home after a 10-year-long absence at sea and earnestly assuring his long-suffering wife that he was trying his best to get back, but he was captured by a cyclops and suffered other misfortunes along the way, and that's also what happened to all his money. In the bar, Odysseus would be telling his drinking companions about the incredibly beautiful women he met in distant lands who couldn't resist him. Sinbad told the same sort of stories, and in more recent times the idea of visiting strange places, encountering strange creatures and perils, as well as beautiful women, also serves as the framework for science fiction and fantasy like Star Trek, Star Wars, and The Lord of the Rings. It's only natural that sea stories should carry over to the Sea of Stars, though nowadays women and men sail the seas together. And sailing along with them are the Marines, who get to enjoy the thrills of living on warships in exchange for the thrills of going ashore in some cold or hot or muddy or desert place filled with enemies who want to shoot at them. One of the criticisms I've received about the Lost Fleet books was that my Marines were too well behaved. What can I say? They haven't had a chance to go on liberty yet. Now I hope you enjoy The Lost Fleet, Valiant.
Chapter 1. Two of the armored bulkheads surrounding Hell-Lance Battery 3 Alpha on the Alliance battlecruiser Dauntless shone like new. They were new, the broken fragments of the originals having been cut away and new material fastened into position. The other two sides of the compartment housing the Hell-Lance battery were scarred by enemy fire, but in good enough shape to have been left in place. The Hell-Lance projectors themselves betrayed recent repairs, using improvised fixes that would never pass muster with a fleet inspection team, but the nearest fleet inspection team was a great distance away back in Alliance space. For now, with the Alliance fleet trapped deep inside Syndicate world space, all that mattered was that these Hell-Lances were ready once again to hurl their charged particle spears at the enemy. Captain John Geary ran his eyes down the rank of the Hell-Lance battery's crew. Half of the sailors here were new to this battery, having been cannibalized from other Hell-Lance crews on the ship to replace losses suffered at Lakota Star System. Like their battery, two of the original crew still bore marks of combat, one with a flex cast covering his upper arm, and another with a heel pad sealed over the side of her leg, walking wounded, who should have been allowed to recuperate before returning to their guns. But that was a luxury neither Dauntless nor any other ship in the Alliance fleet could afford right now. Not with combat once again imminent and the fleet in danger of total destruction. They insisted on returning to their duty station, Captain Tanya Dejani murmured to Geary, her expression proud. Her ship and her crew. They'd fought hard and well. They'd worked around the clock to get this battery back online and ready to engage, and now they were ready to fight again. He couldn't forget that the damage that had been repaired, the sailors who weren't here because their bodies awaited burial, were the result of his decisions. And yet now those sailors watched him with eyes reflecting confidence, pride, determination, and their unnerving faith in Black Jack Geary, legendary hero of the Alliance. They were still ready to follow him. They were following his orders, right back to the place where this fleet had left a lot of destroyed ships. "Damn fine work," Geary stated, trying to put the right amount of emotion into his voice and no more. He knew he had to sound concerned and impressed, but not overwrought. "I've never served with a better crew or one that fought harder." True enough. Before being rescued from a century of survival sleep and brought aboard Dauntless, his combat experience had consisted of a single, hopeless battle. Now he had a fleet of ships and sailors depending on him, not to mention the fate of the Alliance itself, and maybe the fate of humanity as well. No pressure. No pressure at all. Geary smiled at the crew of the Hell-Lance battery. "In 6 hours, we'll be back in Lakota star system, and we'll give you something to shoot at." The sailors grinned back fiercely. "Get a little rest before then. Captain Dejani?" She nodded to him. "At ease," she ordered the gun crew. "You're off duty for the next 4 hours and authorized full rations." The sailors smiled again. With food stocks running low, meals had been cut back to stretch available supplies. "The Syndics will be sorry we came back to Lakota," Geary promised. "Dismissed," Dejani added, then followed Geary as he left the battery. "I didn't think we could get 3 Alpha fully operational in time," she confessed. "They really did a fantastic job." "They've got a good captain," Geary observed. And Dejani looked abashed at the praise, even though she was a seasoned veteran of far more battles than Geary had fought. "How's Dauntless doing otherwise?" he asked. He could have simply looked up the data in the fleet readiness system, but preferred being able to talk to an officer or a sailor about things like that. "All Hell-Lance is operational, null field projector operational, all combat systems optimal, all hull damage from Lakota either repaired or sealed off until we can get to it," Dejani recited immediately. "We're at full maneuvering capability." "What about
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.